The Foridae collective, a gentle, herbivorous species from a tranquil garden world, viewed the rest of the galaxy with a profound sense of empathetic concern. Their society was built on harmony, mutual respect, and a deep, instinctual aversion to violence or unnecessary risk. When they encountered humanity, their initial reports to the galactic conquered were filled with a mixture of pity and profound discomfort. Earth to the Foridae was not a cradle of life, but a Class 9 death world, a nightmarish planet teeming with an astonishing variety of aggressive, predatory life forms. Humans, having evolved and thrived in this environment, were seen as tragically desensitized. The Foridae observed humans consuming cooked animal flesh, a horrifying concept, engaging in sports that simulated combat, and even keeping smaller, tamed predators as companions. This casual proximity to danger, this apparent lack of proper fear, led the Foridae, and by extension many in the conquered, to believe humans were too psychologically skewed by their brutal homeworld to be considered a serious or stable galactic power. They were a curiosity, perhaps even a tragedy, but not a threat. Their baseline for acceptable risk was simply too alien, too high. This perception began to unravel during the historic Foridae diplomatic and cultural exchange mission to Earth. Ambassador Floresa, a Foridae of delicate fronds and wide, empathetic eyes, led the delegation. She and her team were eager to understand humanity, hoping to guide them towards a more harmonious existence. As part of the cultural exchange, their human hosts, eager to showcase their world, arranged a viewing of popular Terran entertainment. One evening, they were shown a selection from a highly rated wildlife documentary channel. The Foridae delegation settled into their comfortable viewing chamber, their bioluminescent patches pulsing with gentle curiosity. The first segment showed a human narrator calmly discussing the majestic Bengal tiger. Footage rolled of the enormous striped carnivore, its teeth like daggers, its roar a sound that would send shivers of primal terror down the spine of any sane herbivore. The Foridae watched, aghast, as the tiger hunted, brought down prey with savage efficiency. And then, inexplicably, the documentary cut to a different human, a conservationist, gently petting the sedated tiger's massive head. Ambassador Flores's frowns wilted visibly. "Is this a common interaction?" she whispered to her human liaison, Dr. Aris Thorne, no relation to the astrophysicist or archivist of other tales, a common human name causing no end of confusion for xenolinguists. Dr. Thorne, oblivious to her horror, smiled. "Oh, with trained professionals, yes. Tigers are endangered, you see. We study them to protect them." "Protect them?" one of the Foridae aides stammered, its eye stalks quivering. "From what, esteemed doctor? Each other." The next segment featured the noble wolf. The Foridae watched footage of a pack of these creatures, their eyes gleaming with predatory intelligence, coordinating a hunt. Then the scene shifted to a human household. A child, no more than 5 Terran years old, was laughing as it playfully wrestled with a large, furry creature identified as a Siberian husky, a domesticated wolf. The child buried its face in the creature's thick fur, pulling its ears. The domesticated wolf responded by licking the child's face with a tongue the size of a Foridae's manipulative tendril. A low moan rippled through the Foridae delegation. The creature in the human dwelling, while appearing gentle with the child, was, by every Foridae biological and instinctual metric, an apex pack hunter, a bringer of swift and bloody death. And the humans invited it into their homes, let it near their offspring. The documentary continued. Humans swimming in cages surrounded by great white sharks, oceanic killing machines whose rows of serrated teeth were the stuff of Foridae nightmares. Humans handling brightly colored, fascinatingly venomous snakes with long metal hooks, their narration calm and scientific. Humans keeping pet tarantulas, creatures whose appearance alone was enough to induce catatonia in several smaller galactic species. There was even a segment on extreme pet owners, who kept miniature versions of Earth's megafauna, small bears, large predatory cats, in their homes, treating them like oversized, slightly more dangerous kittens. The "oh shit" revelation, as a human might describe it, wasn't a single moment, but a creeping, dawning horror that solidified with each new scene. The Foridi began to understand. It wasn't that humans were merely desensitized to danger. It was that their entire planet was a relentless, brutal proving ground. The creatures humans considered wildlife, pets, or even pests, were, to most of the galaxy, monsters of unimaginable ferocity. Ambassador Floresa, her usually vibrant Franz now a dull, stressed grey, turned to Dr. Thorne. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Doctor, these creatures you show us, the ones you live alongside, study, even cherish, they are what you consider normal." Dr. Thorne, still not quite grasping the depth of their existential crisis, nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. Earth has incredible biodiversity. Of course, we respect the wild ones, give them their space. But our domesticated animals are wonderful companions. Loyal, affectionate." One of the Foridi diplomats, a specialist in galactic threat assessment named Parlin, who had been silent and rigid throughout the viewing, suddenly spoke, its voice tight with a new, chilling understanding. "Ambassador, if these are their companions, if these are the lesser threats they have tamed, then what must their enemies be like? What creatures did they have to defeat to become the dominant species on such a world?" The room fell silent. The implications hung heavy in the air, thicker than any Earth jungle. The Foridi looked at the smiling, oblivious humans around them with new eyes. These weren't pitiable, desensitized primitives. These were beings forged in a crucible of unrelenting predatory pressure, a world where death lurked behind every rustling leaf, beneath every ripple in the water. Their baseline for dangerous wasn't just high, it was so far off the galactic scale as to be incomprehensible. If a human child could playfully wrestle with a domesticated version of a planet's apex pack hunter and consider it an act of affection, what did that say about the raw, untamed ferocity lurking within the human species itself? What happened when these beings, who viewed walking death machines as fluffy or wrecks, were truly angered, truly threatened by an external force? Ambassador Floresa abruptly stood, her Franz trembling. "Esteemed Dr. Thorne," she managed, her voice strained. This has been most illuminating. We are somewhat overwhelmed. We must retire and process this new information." The Foridi delegation cut their cultural exchange mission short by 3 standard weeks, citing unexpected physiological distress due to atmospheric incompatibilities. A polite fiction. They returned to the Foridi homeworld, and then to the Galactic Concord, with a report that sent ripples of shock and re-evaluation throughout the established powers. The report wasn't about human aggression or military might. It was about their pets. It was about the casual way humans interacted with creatures that would be considered Class A biohazards or apex threats on almost any other civilized planet. It was about the terrifying implication that humanity's cradle was, in fact, a gladiator school for the entire species, run by Mother Nature herself. Earth was no longer seen as a death world, in the sense of being merely inhospitable. It was reclassified in the minds of many galactic strategists as a forge world, a place that had hammered humanity into something far more formidable and far more terrifying than anyone had previously imagined. Galactic policy towards Earth shifted dramatically. Species that had entertained notions of guiding humanity, or perhaps subtly exploiting its resources, quietly shelved those plans. Military analysts began studying Terran ecology with a new, morbid fascination, trying to extrapolate human combat potential by examining the capabilities of a grizzly bear or a saltwater crocodile. What would a species that can domesticate a wolf be capable of if truly provoked? Became a chilling thought experiment in war colleges across the stars. A new saying began to circulate among galactic diplomats and traders. Before you anger a human, first consider what they feed their cat. Humans, largely unaware of the existential dread their wildlife documentaries had instilled in the Foridi, continued to love their pets, explore their wild places, and occasionally get bitten or stung, grumbling about it before moving on. They had no idea that their casual relationship with a planet full of things that wanted to eat them had inadvertently established them as one of the most psychologically intimidating species in the galaxy. Ambassador Floresa, back on her peaceful garden world, would sometimes look at the soft, harmless moss grazers that were the most dangerous fauna on Foros, and then she would remember the image of a human child laughing as a descendant of wolves playfully gnawed on its hand. And a shiver, cold and profound, would run through her delicate fronds. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a warning,